Namaste to everyone who's present here. I'm pretty sure the audio is fine actually. In case not, can you just let me know on the chat? Okay, it's fine. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming to this session and being here. I would like to start the session itself with a small prayer. Namami dhanvantari devam surasurairvandita pada padmam loke jararubhaya mrityunasham dataramisham vividhaushadinam sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kasyit dukhabhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So once again, Namaste, and I welcome all of you to this evening's program of Ayurveda and Yogic solutions to this current pandemic that we are having. I would like to first of all congratulate all of you on taking a step to make sure that your health is in your hands and that you can gain a kind of knowledge which is present in our Indian systems of medicine as well as yoga, and to use them in your daily life. In this current pandemic that we're living in, there is a major question of how to maintain our health. What is a disease process? How do we consider ourselves when we have a disease? And how can we combat it and come out of it with a good solution? In the second wave, I mean, even many people who are here in the audience may have either had the infection itself. You may have people who are close to you or your relatives who contracted the infection, or even those who succumbed to it. Now, given such a circumstance, there is a high chance that there is fear that is percolated into our minds. And this fear has to be addressed in a proper manner so that we can come out of it and take charge of the entire situation. Another thing that's happening is every day morning, as soon as you wake up, you've got messages popping in your face from social media, from newspapers, and every other social media handle, even WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook, about the dire state in which either our country is in, the entire globe is in. So considering that we face such a lot of information and all of it's thrown in our face, how do you deal with that? And what is the correct method that you should use? There's too much information available, especially say about immune boosters or the use of turmeric or neem or even Kapha coordinate. You've got so much that can be done. So which is appropriate for you and how do you decide that, given the face of excess information that's present in the current era? Now, in relation to the fear as well as this confusion that's present, this is what we'd like to address in this session that we're having. So a question comes, who exactly does this session cater to? Let's look at the statistics. We've got 90%, okay, about 10% of global population is now known to have this disease, have COVID-19. They've contracted it. So that leaves 90% of the entire population that has the chance or scope to prevent and protect themselves from even contracting it. And within the 10% that does have the disease, you've got say 5% that is going into either a hospital or getting hospitalized, having issues with oxygen saturation, using a ventilator, a dire condition where the severity of the disease is extreme. And another 5% is actually a mild or a moderate symptom, and the cases, and those kind of situations you can easily handle by even staying at home, taking rest, having the appropriate food, and some amount of medication that can help you come out of it. One thing, so as you've looked at the points that I've presented, you've got an entire spectrum of people who are eligible to take Ayurvedic and yogic solutions to help themselves, whether you have not contracted it at all and you're trying to prevent yourself from going into such a situation. If you have contracted it, whether it's a mild or a moderate disease, how can you combat with that, staying at home, or even if you are hospitalized? Say it's a dire situation and there is an extreme severe case, how does Ayurveda help handle that kind of a problem? All these three we will be looking at during this session. One concept that I'd like to bring here is that our understanding of health comes from looking at the body in three different manners. That's how we'll be breaking down this session as well. You've got the Annamaya Kosha, or the physical body, your entire organ systems, the tissue, what I can physically see as you, a human being, a form, is part of this Annamaya Kosha. The second comes to Pranamaya Kosha, or the vitality, your breathing. How does the oxygen help you? And what is this energy that you possess? All of that comes under the second layer, or the Pranamaya Kosha. And the third that you have got is your Manomaya Kosha. The manas becoming not just the mind, your emotions, the way you play things out, make a decision, all the factors, your manas, buddhi, chitta, all of them come together under the Manomaya Kosha. And all these three systems, the Annamaya, the Pranamaya, and the Manomaya, together will help you achieve a state of health. So what may seem like a random question right now is what I want to ask. How many of you have heard of the God particle theory, the Higgs-boson God particle theory? If there's anyone at all in the audience who can explain that to me here, it would be amazing. Right. Well, I'm going to assume that nobody's heard of it, or if you have, you're not able to explain it at this point. But let me put it in say, one phrase. So the Higgs boson is basically an elementary particle in the standard model of particle physics, and it's produced by the quantum excitation of the Higgs field. I've explained it. I told you what this theory means. And obviously, I'm pretty sure none of you understood what I actually said. So what is the Higgs field? What is quantum physics? What is particulate? What is a particle? So all these things are terms that you are not familiar with, are things that you don't understand. So when you put it together, when I strung it together in a sentence, even though you could understand the individual terms, you could not comprehend and make a meaning out of it. The same thing holds good for whether you're trying to do anything new. Say you're going to learn about either the Big Bang theory or the kinetic theory or even chemistry or physics. So basic things that we've learned, it's because we have become familiarized with the terms that are used. Just giving you an example. In third standard, when they taught you the term radius, and in the next class, when they introduced a higher concept, because you already knew the term radius, you could continue and understand from that point. But we all come from an education background which has not been able to provide us this basic understanding for knowing more about Ayurveda or yoga or take any kind of Indian Shastra. So to get into this aspect, to introduce to you that there are certain principles, certain theories that Ayurveda uses to look into the perspectives of health or disease, I would like to invite Madhumita. She's an intern right now. She's completed her 4 years of BAMS study and is an active participant in many events. She will be explaining to you about the basics of Ayurvedic understanding, its thinking, the logic, and the principles behind it. Over to you, Madhu.
Namaste. I'm audible. I hope I'm audible. All right. So coming to the point that Anandi finished off, to understand what is the treatment process and what are all the Ayurvedic measures that we can suggest to prevent COVID-19 or any other pandemic in this period, the first foremost thing that you all need to know and understand is what is basic health that we look at in this system of Ayurveda. For example, there is an industry that produces a particular product. So when you go to the factory of that industry, you will have a lot of machines that are arranged in this order, and each of the machine will perform a function on its own, and together they work in a certain process or an order or a protocol by which they'll deliver the final product in the best quality possible. And when there is a mild amount of deviation or any disorder that is there in this process of machines that work to produce this product, there is a big issue, because any malfunction in this process directly affects the quality of the final product. So similarly, in our human body, there is a mechanism that is going on 24/7 to go through this process of growth and repair that we all experience throughout in order to remain healthy on a daily basis. And a deviation from this normal process is what we call a dis-ease or a disorder, something which is not in order. which causes you to experience something which is not comfortable or something which is not normally experienced by you. So what is this mechanism that is taking place throughout as a part of growth and repair in your body? So when we take the physical body or the Annamaya Kosha, where does this process start from? When you take the Annamaya Kosha, the direct source of energy for the Annamaya Kosha would be the Annam, or the food that you consume. This food, which is processed by this basic metabolic heat in your body called the Agni, to form all of your body tissues. Now, what does this Agni do? This Agni, it acts upon your food that you consume, be it any food item, to extract the essence that your body actually needs from it and dispose of the waste products in whatever way possible, be it urine, stools, or sweat. And this process is what is happening throughout in your daily life to grow, repair, and maintain the stability of this Annamaya Kosham that we are looking at. And this process is called Ahara Parinamam, in which the food is transformed into your body elements. So to run this whole show of Ahara Parinama, we've got three functional elements in the system of Ayurveda. They're namely called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. This Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are the pacemakers who run this whole show. The Vata being the element of wind or movement. The Pitta being the basic heat or the catalyst which carries out this transformation. And the Kapha which forms the nutritious base for the formation of all of your body elements. And these three together work in harmony, and the entire process is what forms the basic understanding of health as well as disease in Ayurveda. As long as these three elements, the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, they are again of different they each have five types. They work in each part of your body to carry out their own function and maintain this healthy state. When there is a balance and a harmony among these three elements is when the person is stated to be healthy. And any deviation or any imbalance in these three elements is when you have a problem in this process of Ahara Parinamam, and that is when you experience a disease or a vyadhi that we call. So coming over to this process of Ahara Parinama, what exactly happens to all of this in the end? So when the food which is processed by the Agni is enough to nourish all of your body parts subsequently, when the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are able to carry out this process efficiently, is when we have the formation of the Ojas. What is this element called Ojas? Now, this ojas is the most refined essence of what you have eaten after nourishing all of your body parts. The amount of ojas decides the basic strength of an individual. That it decides the immunity or the general strength of the person to withstand any imbalance in this process. So when you take the concept of immunity or basic strength here, now you see that this process is a very subjective and a personalized process which takes place in your own body. So only when this Ahara Parinama is happening in a balanced and in the right manner in yourself, only then you will have sufficient amount of ojas or the basic strength to withstand any disease condition, be it COVID-19 or any other disease process. So coming to this point of immunity or basic strength, in this pandemic period, I'm sure all of you are very eager to develop this immunity or basic strength within yourself. So how do you do this? Where all can you put in your input so that this process goes on smoothly and you have enough immunity and strength within yourself? To understand this process, let us take an example of a tree. Say you plant a fruit tree, a mango tree, for example. Your expectation from the tree will obviously be to have a sweet and a nutritious fruit. So to achieve this goal, is it just enough to polish and maintain and nurture only the fruit externally? No, isn't it? Because the fruit is just a representation of the entire process which is taking place within the tree itself. So when your goal is to attain immunity or basic strength, which is formed as a result of an entire process inside your body, there are a lot of things that you need to contribute. When you take this tree, the process of obtaining the sweet and the nutritious fruit that we are talking about starts from the basic step, that is when you plant the seed for the tree. The soil in which the seed is planted, the sufficient amount of water that you pour every day, and the weather conditions that are prevalent in the thing, everything together contribute towards the growth of this tree. And only when this tree grows into a healthy and leafy tree, and only then you will be able to obtain that nutritious fruit that you are expecting. So to obtain what we did discussed about the basic strength of the immunity, there are a few factors that you can alter and channelize this process towards being going more and more smoother. So what are all the steps that you can carry out in this process? The first thing would be to obviously alter your diet, which is your food. You watch what type of food that you want to eat every day, and at what intervals you want to take them, and how much quantity you take them. And the next thing would be the regimen or the routine that you follow. And these two are always aligned with respect to the external environment. For example, it's summer. You alter your food habits in such a way that you take more of tender coconut or sugarcane juice, or more vegetables which have water content in them. And similarly, you change your regimen in such a way that it is at par with the external environment or the seasonal changes. Only when you alter this ahara food aspect and the vihara, which is the regimen, in line with the external environment, only then will there be a harmony among these three doshas, which will together work towards making this process of formation of this immunity that you can achieve. So being healthy is not just a basic process which you can just achieve by taking healthy items, or just taking a few supplements once then and there, or just taking a few preventive measures for just one pandemic. It is a habit that you have to cultivate right from the beginning. You come to know this point, and when you start altering, this entire process starts becoming smoother and smoother, and only then will you be able to achieve this sweet and nutritious fruit of basic strength that you need. So to go into the details as to what is the basic diet you need to follow, and what are all the alterations you can make in your routine in the context of Ayurveda, as well as Ayurveda being a treatment for the pandemic in this context and any other disease, I would like to invite the next speaker, Dr. Achit Bharadwaj, who is practicing in Ayushi Ayurveda Panchakarma Center. He's been treating COVID patients for the past 1 year. So over to you, Dr. Achut.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you for introducing me. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible. You can continue.
Okay. Am I also visible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, fine. So good evening, everyone. Namaste bhai. I hope all of you are staying safe and healthy in this pandemic. I generally would prefer a interactive session, because it shouldn't look as if one person is talking all the while. It might be a bit boring for most of you. I would love an interactive session. So if anybody wants to have an interactive session, it is open. So, okay, I would like to start with a small question. So how deadly do you think this COVID pandemic is? Do you think it is really deadly, or do you think it is something which does not have much of a toll on us? So what do you feel?
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Actually, though we have been educated, like when you keep your immune system good and you do your exercises and you really keep yourself fit with good diet, listening to certain things from outside, sometimes you're gripped with fear, and suddenly you wonder what if it happens, and then why is it happening to the extreme? No.
I get it. Yes, so it does sometimes make you a bit paranoid sometimes also. So generally we consider this pandemic a bit dangerous, right? I mean, we fear this pandemic. That is the reason why we are attending so many webinars. We want to know a lot about our health, etc., right? So what do you think is the number of deaths because of COVID in the last 2 years until now? Okay, I'll tell that figure. Approximately, it is around 3.3 million, which is approximately 33 lakhs, right? So that has been the number of deaths all over the world from this COVID pandemic. There is a condition called as a metabolic syndrome, under which diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular illnesses, that is heart attacks, etc., and other lifestyle issues such as PCOD, etc., come under these. Under these metabolic illnesses, if we take just diabetes and obesity alone, in the past 2 years, there have been 13 million deaths because of these two conditions, just diabetes and obesity alone. Because of COVID, there are 33.3 million. In this condition, there are 13 million deaths. That is almost 4 times the amount of deaths. So if we have to worry about something, it is not just about this COVID condition. So I would like to talk about not just the COVID pandemic, but how Ayurveda can help you curb most of the conditions that I'm going to talk about. Most of the conditions which can actually harm us in a major way, not just the COVID pandemic. So this is a very general question. Can you trust Ayurveda in the first place? What do you feel about Ayurveda? Do you feel that Ayurveda can actually help someone? Or do you feel that Ayurveda is a bit outdated and it is not actually evidence-based?
100%. 100% Ayurveda will help.
100%. Okay, thank you. So I think most of us here are already we already have an idea of what Ayurveda is, and because of that, I think most of us already trust Ayurveda. But then if we are in the general public, if we talk to the general public, we would say that most of the people would say it is outdated and it is not evidence-based, etc. So I would like to ask them something. What do you mean by evidence-based medicine? What do you mean by an evidence? What does evidence do? Okay, evidence is nothing
Possibly,
but
clinical trials.
Yes, clinical trials. So what do these clinical trials help you identify? How do these clinical trials help you?
Positive versus negative results, that kind of thing.
Yes. So it in some way helps you identify if a particular drug or a particular treatment is actually working or if it is not working based upon some clinical trials, right? Based upon some visible evidence, right? So if we take this evidence, so evidence generally helps you either postulate or negate a certain topic or a certain phenomenon or a certain action, right? For example, say take paracetamol, for example. We give paracetamol to a certain person, we'll see if the temperature is coming down. If the temperature comes down in a certain group of audience, and if in another set of audience, if the temperature does not come down with a placebo treatment, we say that yes, paracetamol does work. We have an evidence for that. So this is how generally evidence-based medicine works. And we have a lot of research articles which prove that it actually works. So I would like to give you an example here of one major research article which was done just recently, just in the last year. There were 5 research papers which were published by big journals on how smoking can help you prevent COVID-19. How smoking actually gives you lesser death rates than the non-smoking audience, than the non-smoking people. It has been proven, it seems. Now, since we all are aware that it is practically impossible for smoking to help you recover from COVID, right? We all are already aware of that. And the general public are also aware of that. Because of this, there was a petition which was given to WHO and other organizations. And then they found out that all of these research articles were funded by some tobacco company or the other. So it is possible for us to manipulate a research article and tell the public whatever we want to tell. So I would like to ask you another question. I think this will have an unanimous answer. Do you think breakfast is important or not? Do you think breakfast is the best meal or not?
Very much.
Yes. So this is what every one of us, we all know this, right, already. So we all know this because lots of doctors have already been telling this to us for a long time, right? But then if any of us remember, especially if anybody is above 50 or 40, you would remember that your parents would never have had tiffin for breakfast. They would have had either palaya soru or they would have directly eaten the lunch early. There was no concept of breakfast at all in the ancient India, even until the last 50 years. So, but then how did we get this concept of breakfast? It is because there were two major research articles which were published in 2000, around 2000, and the other one by around 2013. Both these research articles prove that breakfast is highly helpful for you. It was proven that whoever takes breakfast are more energetic throughout the day, and etc. etc. But then there was another article in 2019 by the British Medical Journal. I am specifying British Medical Journal because it is considered as one of the most unbiased medical journals. In this British Medical Journal, after this research article, the research article says whoever skips their breakfast, whoever directly has their lunch, has lesser chances of getting diabetes, obesity, and other lifestyle related problems. So how is it possible for us to get a positive result in the previous research article and the negative result in this article? Now, if that article is still available on the net, you can see there are two articles mainly for breakfast. Both the articles are funded by Kellogg's and Quaker Oats. Why wouldn't they talk about breakfast, right? So this article by British Medical Journal was not funded by anybody. It was done by a set of scientists. So when we look at evidence, it is important for us to see if it is a biased evidence or an unbiased evidence. So coming to Ayurveda, if we have to prove that Ayurveda can help you in certain way, we are asked to bring a certain evidence. But if we look at evidence in itself, the concept of evidence in itself, we can see that it can be highly biased, and whatever we think to be evidence-based need not be actually evidence-based, right? So the next thing about evidence. So for example, say this is a remote, okay? How do I prove that this remote is present here? I would let three people come in here. I will show them this remote and tell them, so you can see this remote, right? It is physically present here. If it is physically present here, then it means that this remote is here. So this is a way of proving that this remote is present here. It is a gross way of telling you that giving you an evidence that it is present, right? This is helpful if you are talking about something as gross as a remote or as gross as the physical body itself. But Ayurveda is a science which deals not just with the physical body, but also with the psychological aspect and something called as the Atman, which has not been proven in any way by any medical system or the Western science itself. So let us talk only about the mind also. The mind is a vaguely understood concept in the Western science. So if we have to prove that a certain Ayurvedic medicine is actually working, is actually helpful for you, for that, the science itself should have been updated. The modern science with which we have to prove that Ayurveda is working is not yet updated for Ayurveda for it to prove itself. I'll tell you an example, very simple example. We all know of vitamin D, right? I think there is nobody out there who isn't aware of vitamin D. Until recently, maybe 30, 40 years ago, when vitamin D was not found to help in absorbing calcium, it was thought that when you have calcium, calcium gets absorbed into your body. So what happened, if you remember, we had something called as calcium sandos, right? I don't know if anybody remembers. It used to be very tasty. It used to come in a dog-shaped box. Yeah. So we had something called as calcium. Now we don't get it. It isn't that popular if you observe. It is because that contained calcium alone, and it was found that it was giving you kidney stones because it was not being absorbed into your body. It is getting collected into your kidneys. So then it was found that actually vitamin D is helpful for absorption of this calcium. So you should actually have vitamin D along with calcium. Then it was found vitamin D alone is not enough. You should have magnesium and zinc also for you to get enough calcium in your body. So there is no end to this. If you go on, then at last they'll tell you, so this fruit contains all the necessary nutrients. So have this fruit. This will help you in absorbing all the nutrients which is naturally present in it. So nature gives you a package in which whatever is already present in it helps each other. It is complementary in nature. Whatever is present in the nature, that is what even a fruit or a vegetable or a herb. So what happens when we talk about evidence-based medicine is that what they do is they take a certain plant. For example, Vallari. We all are aware of Vallari, right? Vallari is called as Mandukaparni in Sanskritam. It is generally attributed for improving the memory or the intelligence also to an extent. So what happens is, if we take Vallari, we can make it into a chutney, or we can make it into a pulusu, or we can make it into a juice, or we can have it in any way. But what the modern science is trying to do is that they are trying to extract the principal nutrient which is present, in the Mandukaparni or the Vallari, and then they are making it into capsules and then they are giving you. What happens because of this? If that particular principle has some negative effect on your body, the plant itself will have another positive effect which will nullify this. But what happens when you extract a certain principle alone? It can have a negative effect on your body. That is what is a side effect. So if you have a whole herb, if you have a herb as prescribed in Ayurveda, it is impossible for you to have any side effects because it is nature given. So it is impossible for anybody to prove that Ayurvedic medicine is working based upon the present allopathic standards. So that is the point that that I was trying to drive in, because whenever I talk about a certain subject, if I have to explain that this particular thing is going to improve your immunity, or this particular thing has antibacterial effect or antiviral effect, if I keep doing this, there is no point in me talking about Ayurveda, because I keep talking about allopathic science altogether. The only only place in which I am talking about Ayurveda is when I tell about that particular drug. So I would like to talk in specific Ayurvedic terms further on, and I'd like you to understand that when I talk in Ayurvedic terms, in simple Ayurvedic terms, I'll tell you what those are. I would like you to understand that these terms are actually scientific. They aren't something which is just made up overnight. They have certain logic, and they work in a certain way. So first, we now we understand that Ayurveda is indeed evidence-based, but not in the way the allopathic science perceives. So the next question that I have for you is, do you think Ayurveda only talks about medicines?
No.
Okay.
Not only medicine.
Okay. What else do you think Ayurveda consists of?
I mean,
lifestyle.
I'm sorry?
Total lifestyle.
Lifestyle, wonderful. Okay. Yes. So this audience is a well-informed audience, I think so. Okay. Yes, Ayurveda not just talks about the medicine, it also talks about the complete lifestyle. So what is the lifestyle? It is not just about the medicine. It includes every aspect of our life. That is the food we eat, the way we sleep, the way we have a certain food. Every single aspect is covered in Ayurveda. It is impossible for anybody to completely follow every single aspect which is told in Ayurveda, because we have to actually live our lives in some way or the other. It is complete. If I tell you to follow every single thing that is told in Ayurveda, it would be very difficult for you. So what I did is I have taken one core concept in Ayurveda, which is called as Traya Upastambhas. What is a stambha? What is a pillar? A pillar helps you in supporting another floor, right? It helps you, it acts as a base, right? So in Ayurveda, it is told us there are three stambhas in our life in order to protect our life. It sustains our life. What are these three stambhas? It is aharam, that is the food that we eat. Nidra, that is how we sleep, when we sleep, and how much duration we have. All these come under Nidra. And the other one is brahmacharyam. When we talk about brahmacharyam, whatever thought we get is that it talks about our sex life. No, it is not so. Brahmacharyam. Brahman means the Atman. Charanam means to stay. To stay in the Brahma itself, in the Atman itself, is Brahmacharyam. In simple terms, if we have a relaxed mind, if we have a positive mind, that itself means that you are following Brahmacharya. So if you have a relaxed mind, it is impossible for you to get any disease, because in Ayurveda it is told Vishado Rogavardhananam. What is Vishadam? The act of the feeling of hopelessness can increase a disease, can aggravate a condition in your body. But then Prashamaha Prerananam. If you feel safe, if you feel calm, it nourishes your body. The mind itself can either nourish you or destroy you. So it is important for us to have a calm and peaceful mind. That is the first pillar of your life. What is the second thing? Nidra. Coming to Nidra, generally when I'm in the clinic, what every patient asks me is that, how many hours should I sleep in a day? In Ayurveda, there is no mention of number of hours to sleep in a day because there is no objective criteria for every single human being in the world in Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, it says how much ever time you take for you to feel fresh, that is the time you have to sleep. That is the amount of time that you have to spend sleeping. That is, for example, if you are aware of a Mahan called as Sri Ramana Maharshi, he slept only for 2 hours in a day, but then he was fresh throughout the day. There are people who sleep for 4 hours and feel fresh. There are people who sleep for 8 hours and then feel fresh. There are people who sleep for 12 hours and still doesn't feel fresh. So it is important for you to identify what your prakriti is and then see how much time of sleep that you will need. So this is regarding Nidra. The most important aspect that I wanted to talk about is Aharam, because that is something which we actually have in our hands right now. We can do something about it. So one of the major misconceptions that we have, I think this will shock many of you, is that idli and dosa are very helpful or very healthy for you, right? Even the WHO mentioned that idli is one of the most healthy breakfast that you can have. As I told you, breakfast itself is a myth. And talking about idli or dosa, it contains 2 ingredients mainly, right? One is rice, the other one is ulutham paruppu. It is called as masha in Sanskritam. It is called as urad dal. It is called as masham in Sanskritam. Yeah, okay. So in Ayurveda, it is told masham should be had only occasionally or approximately weekly once or monthly once. But then do we have any proof for that? Have our ancestors been following this? If anybody is aware of this, or if anybody can talk with their elders, you can identify that we were always having idli or dosa only monthly once, that is during Amavasya or some Pandige. We never used to have idli or dosa on a regular basis. It was never a practice at all. It is something new which came to our Indian subcontinent from Thailand. Idli and dosa came from Thailand. It is not an Indian cuisine. It came in the 1700s or 1800th century. So we have to first identify what foods our ancestors were eating regularly. They used to have rice 2 times a day. They used to either have palayarasi or they used to be on an empty stomach till their lunch. Now I understand that it is not practically possible for you to either only have palayasora or be on an empty stomach till your lunch. So what I would suggest you is that you should have something, but that should mean nothing, right? It is a bit difficult for you to have something in such a in such a form, right? Fruits can help you do that. Why? Because fruits contain 90% of water in it. Only 10% it contains nutrients or fiber, etc. It is as if you are drinking something, whereas what you're doing is eating it. You feel full, at the same time you're actually not eating anything much, and you're hydrated also. So what you can do is, for breakfast you can start having healthy fruits, seasonal fruits. And for lunch and dinner, if it is possible for you, there is something called as traditional rice or hand pounded rice. If you can get any of these, if you can have this rice as a whole, it is much, much better than the tiffin that we are having today. Because tiffins, as I told you, were never the norm even until 50, 60 years ago. So this is one major thing. The second thing is eating spices. We all know that Britishers came into India through the East India Company, right? So what were they trading on? They were trading on these spices. They were always aware that India is rich in spices, and the wealth of India is in the spices that it has, right? So the major spices that we have today, fortunately, in most of our homes is pepper, turmeric, clove in some houses, cumin seeds, jeera, etc. Right? When we make rasam, we are all aware of rasam, right? Sambar or rasam. When we make rasam, most of these ingredients are already used in it. And interestingly, there was a recent study which was done in India. It was found that South Indians were less prone to colon cancer than the North Indians, it seems. Why was that? it was found that South Indians were eating more turmeric than the North Indians because of rasam and sambar. So if we eat enough amount of spices itself in a day, have chukumali coffee in place of the coffee that we generally have, or have some jeera water regularly, all these can improve your health in a tremendous way in multiple planes that we can't even understand in the present circumstance that we are in. It not just improves your immunity, or it not just improves your appetite and your way of thinking, it also improves the metabolism in the body. Why metabolism is important? When you have a certain food, for example, you have a carrot. We all know that carrot is rich in vitamin A, right? So when I have a carrot, I presume that when I have this carrot, I get vitamin A, right? But then say my metabolism is not very good. What happens when I have that carrot? I digest that carrot, but enough amount of nutrition is not absorbed from that carrot into my body. So it leaves from my body as it is. So I eat the carrot, still I am deficient of vitamin A. So it is important for you to have a very good metabolism. Only then whatever food that you have will give you the necessary nutrition in your body. That is why a lot of Ayurvedic medicines take time to work, because we are already in such a bad diet or in such a bad lifestyle that whatever food that we have itself is not being absorbed into our body. How do we expect the Ayurvedic medicine to be absorbed into your body? It doesn't happen that way, right? So it is a very simple way to address this is have enough spices. That itself is good. No need to hoard yourself with the spices. Generally, when we have some rasam, melaga jeeraga rasam, or some sambar, or some chukumali coffee, something of that sort can also help you. So this is ahara, nidra, and brahmacharyam in a precise way. The third thing is, okay, how do you expect Ayurveda to give you point blank remedies? How can Ayurveda give you, how is it possible that Ayurveda can give you point blank remedies? That is, if you have a certain illness, it does not see it in a wide way. That is, for example, what is a, okay, I'll give you an example of it. For example, say a person has fever. How do we treat that fever? Generally, when we give paracetamol, what happens? A person starts perspiring, right? He starts sweating. We see that there is no sweating before paracetamol. Once he has paracetamol, he starts sweating. His body aches reduce. He starts feeling fresh, right? That's how we see that, okay, this medicine is working, and this person is out of this fever. So we perceive a fever from the point of these symptoms, right? But Ayurveda sees in a deeper sense. Ayurveda sees why this condition came in the first place. For example, in one particular type of jwara, fever, what happens is that there is formation of ama in your stomach. What is amam? Amam is an unprocessed food article which is present in your body. As I told you in the previous example, say you have a carrot. You ingest the carrot, it goes into your esophagus, goes into the stomach. It has to be digested there. It is getting digested, but it is not being processed. As I told you, it is not being metabolized, it is not being absorbed. So what happens? This half cooked or half formed or half absorbed particle still remains in your body till it is being excreted from your body, right? So when it is present in your body, our body tries somehow to handle this food that we have ingested. It tries to digest it in the stomach itself, but if that is not possible, it tries to digest somewhere around the whole track of the digestion. What happens? Ultimately, it goes into the large intestine, where there is a lot of helpful bacteria. The function of bacteria, if you keep a certain food outside and let it spoil, what happens? After some time, it starts smelling, right? Why is it smelly? It is because a lot of microorganisms have acted upon it, right? In the same way, in our intestines also, whenever there is a food which is not properly digested by the stomach, it comes to the intestine and the bacteria starts trying to digest it. That is when a lot of gas forms in our body. These food articles which are present in our body, which are not properly digested, can in some form be called as amam, or undigested, unformed, unabsorbed particles in our body. Ayurveda says when this continues, when this remains in your body for too long, it can lead to something called as jwara. So Ayurveda says a simple remedy for that is just treat or absorb or digest this uncooked or undigested particle which is there in your body. So Ayurveda gives simple foods such as milag. That's why in lot of households they give milag jeeraga rasam for jwaram, for fever. So what happens? It goes in and digests whatever is undigested in the body, and then it helps in reabsorption of whatever is present. And because of this, the gas or anything which is already present in the body is removed. And because of this, jwaram comes down. But when you take paracetamol, none of these are addressed, but you feel fresh without addressing this. So what happens? What is the next stage of this? It starts remaining in your body and goes into the deeper tissues. That is, it starts affecting your bones, it starts affecting your skin. That is when people get rheumatoid arthritis. That is when people get psoriasis. So when a certain thing is not removed from a body, it forms into something called as a shalya. What is a shalya? A foreign particle, because it is neither digested by the body nor is it removed by the body. So a simple thing can be treated or addressed in a very simple way, if unattended, can lead to a condition which is incurable. So Ayurveda looks at a condition in the most basic sense, treats it in the most simple way, and then helps you prevent much bigger diseases which can be incurable. So this is how Ayurveda looks and treats a certain condition. So this is how Ayurveda can give you a point blank remedy to a certain condition. So I'm telling all this because we have to understand that Ayurveda is not just about addressing a certain condition. For example, you go to a doctor saying you have muttuvali, you have knee pain. He gives you a certain medicine, an Ayurvedic doctor. He gives you a certain kashaya. You take the medicine, knee pain goes away. After 3 months, you will get that knee pain again. I'm sure of that. Why is that? Because the pain or the toxin which is causing the pain has been removed, but the origin of the toxin is not removed. Why? Because the diet aspect has not been addressed. Because the origin has not been cut off. When there is a bucket which is being filled with water, you just remove the excess water, but you don't switch off the tap. What happens to that condition? So it is important for us to see that Ayurveda addresses a particular condition in every sense. That is, if you have to conquer a fort, you attack in every single way. That is how you conquer the fort. So when you follow Ayurveda in the right way, you can completely come out of not just the condition that you are suffering with, it can also prevent further conditions that you might suffer from. Okay. So coming to COVID, okay, see, since we are here to talk about COVID, so I would like to tell you something. I think most of you have heard about pasteurization, right? Pasteurization. Is anybody aware what pasteurization is? How it works or something?
Sudden cooling of the milk immediately after heating it.
Exactly, yes.
Bringing
Sudden
it to
heating, yes. Suddenly taking it to high temperatures and then bringing it down to lower temperatures, sub-zero temperatures. So by this, they postulate that the germs which is present in the milk is destroyed, right? Right. So what is milk famous for? Why do we generally consume milk?
Calcium and proteins.
Right. Generally, we say it has a lot of calcium in it. It has proteins in it. It does help. Right. But then another most important aspect which is present in milk is the bacteria content in it, which is lactobacillus bacteria, which is what is transferred into curds, which is what is transferred into buttermilk also. In the process of pasteurization, if pasteurization is killing of harmful germs, is it not killing of even the lactobacillus bacteria which is present in the milk? So how do you think it can actually help you? It wouldn't, right? Okay, I'm talking about pasteurization here because there is a person called as Louis Pasteur. He is the one who postulated this theory of pasteurization. He was the one who introduced something called as germ theory. He was the one who told there is a certain germ, a virus or a bacteria or a fungus, which can attack your body, and because of that, you will have a certain illness. He is the one who told that. But then, interestingly, this is something which most of us are not aware of. Most of the doctors are also not aware of. Interestingly, Louis Pasteur, on his deathbed, he made a certain statement. I just wrote it down. I'll read it out for you. These are on in quotes. Okay. He has told, "I was wrong. The germ is nothing. The terrain is everything." He told that the germ is nothing, but the terrain is everything. What is the terrain? Terrain is the human body, the human environment. He was saying the germs are just a secondary effect of how we keep our body. That is, if your body is extremely healthy, if you have very good immunity, it is impossible for any germ to affect you. If you don't keep your body in a good environment, if you don't have very good immunity, it is easily possible for you to get any infection, right? He says germs are just a consequence, but then your body is what is important. That is what Ayurveda talks about. That is why many people try to correlate Ayurveda germs, that is bacteria and virus, to krimi, which is told in Ayurveda. No, krimi is just the worms that Ayurveda was talking about. Ayurveda never talked about bacteria or virus. It need not talk about bacteria or virus because it is thinking in a different, higher plane. It is not just in this outdated idea that virus or bacteria is going to affect you, so you should have an antibacterial or antiviral medicine. That is why it is impossible for any medical system to prove that this is antibacterial or antiviral in a complete sense. There are no Ayurvedic antibiotics unless it is claimed to be by somebody, and they can never prove that. What Ayurveda does is it improves the environment which is present in the body. It improves the health of your body, and because of that, you will not get an infection. Because of that, virus cannot affect you. Because of that, bacteria cannot affect you. That is how Ayurveda works. So for that, whatever remedies that small preventive remedies that I'm going to help with you now are not antibiotics or antivirals, but they improve the health of the body. I need you to understand that. So this is something which I wanted to tell you. And what happens is I have been treating a lot of COVID patients in moderate or mild or severe conditions also. What happens in most cases, everybody is ready to take the medicines, but nobody is ready to understand why a diet has to be maintained during the fever. It is called as Pathya in Ayurveda. I think most of us are aware of a personality called as Hippocrates, right? Hippocrates, right? The father of modern medicine. There is one famous quote of his, okay? I have also written that down. He says, to eat when you are sick, is to feed your sickness. When we eat something which is too nutritious during a sickness, it does not nourish you, it nourishes the sickness. What happens is whenever I give medicines, they ask me if they can have egg. Most of the vegetarians also, they tell me it is very nutritious, I want to have egg, I want to nourish my body during this fever. It is important, it is very important to nourish your body, not during the fever, but before the fever or after the fever, not during the fever. So in Ayurveda, it is told we have to do something called as langhanam. What is langhanam? Langhanam can be understood as fasting. Fasting, if you actually observe, I have been observing in Hindu Shastra, we have Ekadasha fasting. During the Ekadashis, we fast. Muslims fast before Ramzan. Christians also have certain days in which they fast. Even Jains have a certain festival in which they fast for 10 or 15 days. So fasting has always been a part of our culture, through tradition or without tradition. Because we left religion for some good or bad reasons, it doesn't matter, we have also left this part of fasting. So fasting was always a tradition which was actually scientifically helping you. So in Ayurveda, it is told when you have fever, in most fevers, not in every fever, you have to do something called as langhanam. That is, give your body to attack the virus or the bacteria which is attacking you, and just observe your body. Don't feed continuously. Don't keep feeding your body, thinking that it is going to nourish your body and that is going to help you conquer the virus or the bacteria. No. Ayurvedic medicines also just make you improve the body's environment. It does not give you nutrition. It gives you strength to fight the illness alone without feeding the illness. That is why Ayurvedic medicines are a bit unique in this sense. So what you have to do, what is the first thing that you have to do when you know that you have symptoms of fever or cold or running nose? You have to start fasting. How can you do that? You can have warm soups, you can have arasi kanji, you can have warm water, you can have lots of fluids, but never have idli or dosa, especially when you have a fever. Just remember this is very, very important. If it is possible, just let this know to your colleagues or your friends or your family also. Understand that you shouldn't keep force feeding your body, especially when you have a fever. And the other thing is, as I told you, lot of spices. When you have soup, when you have rasam, when you have hot water, when you have jeera water or chukumali coffee, you certainly are having a lot of spices in it. And the third thing is never panic. When you get fever, or when any of your family members get fever also, as I told you, 3.3 million is nothing when compared to 13 million which is there in diabetes and obesity. Are we afraid of diabetes and obesity as much as we are afraid of COVID? No, right? We are made to be afraid. It is important for us to be alert. It is not necessary for us to be paranoid. So just be calm. It is possible. Lots of people have completely recovered from this condition. So keep your mind calm. Keeping your mind calm, having enough spices, hydrating yourself with warm liquids, not cold liquids, and not force feeding yourselves are the three main rules that you have to follow during a fever. Okay, so there is another thing about steam. A lot of people have been asking about steaming. Steaming is actually good because there was a recent video on mucormycosis, that is the black fungus. There was a doctor who was telling that since people are having so much steam, 10 times or 15 times a day, because of that, the cilia is lost, the hair tentacles which are present in the nostrils are lost. And because of that, the fungus is getting into the body faster. What they say is true. If you take steam 10 times or 15 times in a day, that is possible. But I think practically nobody does that. Maybe once or twice in a day. So I would tell you, you can take steam maybe once or twice a day, and not more than that. In Ayurveda, it is specifically told Pitta Prakriti people shouldn't take steam too much. If you are taking steam also, I would suggest you a way in which steam can be done. If you are taking steam, just close your eyes like this and take steam, because it is possible for the steam to affect your eyes. Okay. So this is regarding steam. So I would like to conclude by giving you my clinical experience with COVID. I would like to give you some hope. That is what I would like to do. I recently had a lady who was around 65 years old. She has been in the ICU in Kaveri Hospital for 15 days. After that, she recovered from the ICU, but she was still bedridden. She was under 15 liters of oxygen. Okay, 15 liters of oxygen continuously. And even with 15 liters of oxygen, the saturation was only around 98 or 96. And if we remove the mask even for a moment, even for 5 minutes, it comes down to even 70 or 65 sometimes. So I was not very confident that she will be able to completely pull this off. But what I told them is we'll try with these medicines. If she responds well to the medicines, we can be sure that she'll come out of this. You won't believe it. After she started taking the medicine, just 2 days after she started taking the medicine, from 15 liters, she came down to 4 liters of oxygen. She was in the hospital for 1 month. The allopathic nurse was giving the medicines. She was telling that she has never seen somebody recover so fast from a condition. So it came down to 4 liters of oxygen. And during the time when they changed diapers, they removed the oxygen for a moment, as I told you, for 5 minutes. It was found that last time it came to 70 or 65, and for her to recover from that, it took around 10 to 15 minutes. But this time around, when they removed and when they kept the oxygen mask again, it did come down to 70, but then it came back to 98 in a span of 1 to 2 minutes. So her recovery was very fast. This was in a span of 2 to 3 days. So, but one unfortunate thing is that she is extremely paranoid. She is afraid that she may not come out of this. Because of that, from 4 liters, one night, she was so anxious that from 4 liters, it went to 8 liters. Every medicine was perfect. She was recovering from the condition. Only because of what her mind was doing to her, she came from 4 to 8 liters, and she is again starting to slowly worsen. So I would like to tell you that you have to keep your mind relaxed in the first place for you to completely recover from any condition. Ayurveda emphasis is on that. So, and I also like to tell you that it is possible for us to recover. She had 100% lung damage, not just 90%. I have the medical CT scan, 100% lung damage, but then her saturation is improving. How is that possible? So in Ayurveda, actually it is told it is not completely possible for such a person to recover. But we can see that Ayurveda can also do miracles if given in the right way, if given in the right dose. So I would like to conclude with this. So after this, I think Anandi is going to join us. So I'd like to give us some idea about pranayama, etc. After that, we'll have a Q&A session.
Doctor sir,
Yes.
one small doubt I have.
Yes.
Venkatraman here.
Yes, sir.
Sir, most of the fatalities which I
Yes,
have
sir.
seen, the people who died, they had recovered, they had tested negative also. Post that, they get into, some other kind of complication, and the person dies. At least 5-6 people known to me who have died. All of them were tested negative. So, does
after
Ayurveda
recovering.
offer anything? Yeah, correct.
Yes, sir. As I told you, Ayurveda does not suppress the immune system and completely attack the virus or the bacteria. For example, if you take an antibiotic, it does not help the body fight the illness. It attacks the bacteria or the virus and then it kills it off. But what Ayurveda does is it improves the immunity to such an extent that our immune system attacks the virus or the bacteria. Because of this, when you come out of the viral condition or bacterial condition after the fever, which is treated with Ayurveda, you become your immunity improves than how it was before the fever. And because of that, chances of getting fever again is much, much lesser. And in Ayurveda, it is told you have to end every single fever with something called as rasayanam. Rasayanam is a nutritive jam. I will explain it to be a jam, which helps in nourishing the body in multiple ways. And because of that, it can prevent lots of recurrence of fever conditions. But then if you have already taken antibiotics or antivirals and you have tested negative, for you to prevent reinfection, you can start improving your body's immunity by the simple techniques that I told you itself. That is by taking steam at least once a day and by taking enough spices and making sure that you're not holding your body with food like bread or jam or too much of idlis or too much of dosa. You can have kanji, you can have lots of vegetable soups, you can have rasam, etc. All these help you prevent that. Apart from that, there are many Ayurvedic medicines also which help you improve your immunity or your body's environment itself. That can prevent further infections.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes,
All
Anandi.
right. So before we move on to the complete session where you can have all of your doubts, we will have one small relaxation practice done first. I'd like all of you to please sit straight and close your eyes. Make sure that your spine, neck, and head are in a nice straight line. Keep your hands either in chin or Gyan Mudra, where the index and thumb finger are touching and the palms can face upward or they can face downward. Please close your eyes for the duration of the practice. First, become aware of the body that is on the floor. Become aware of the body which is present in the room where you are. And visualize your own body within that room. Now take your awareness to the breathing, the process of inhalation and exhalation that is happening naturally. Simply become aware of the fact that your breath is going in and your breath is coming out. You are aware of the process of respiration that is taking place naturally. There is no effort that is involved. You are not forcibly inhaling or exhaling, but simply being aware of the movement of air from the environment into your body. Now I'd like you to visualize the pathway through which your air is actually going into your body. Feel the cold air that is going in through the nostrils into your nasal pathway, going down through your pharynx, passes through the larynx, and goes into your trachea. From there, feel the breath that goes in through your trachea that branches into your bronchi. Feel the air that goes into your lungs, through the bronchi, into the bronchioles, and finally into the small balloon-like sacs the alveoli. During the process of exhalation, feel the entire air that is coming, which went into the same pathway, come out in the same path. Feel the air that is coming out due to the movement of your diaphragm. Feel it being pushed out through the alveoli, through the bronchioles, into the bronchi, back through the trachea, coming back into the nasal passage, and coming out through your nostrils. In a similar manner, continue the breathing process while you retain awareness of the entire tree. Feel as though that you have got two beautiful trees inside your body, which are helping and oxygenating or providing vital prana to every part of the body. Feel the prana that is going in from the lung, passing on through your blood, going to every other part, every organ, your stomach, your liver, the intestines, your spleen. Go down further. Feel that particular prana, which is vitalizing every cell in the body. You have not changed the rate of breathing. You are simply aware of the process and visualizing every single part of the body that is now filled with prana. During the process of exhalation, feel that every toxic accumulation that is there, your tension, your fear, worry, anger, every such negative emotion that you may have, feel all of it coming back out through your breath and getting released into the environment. Feel these two lungs, which act like trees within your body, purifying you. Now for 5 more breaths, along with the count, we will do abdominal breathing, where you become aware of the movement of your chest, the rib cage, small movements in your clavicle, and a complete movement of the abdominal wall due to your diaphragm. With inhalation, Om 1. As you exhale, Om 1. With inhalation again, Om 2. As you exhale, Om 2. With the count, continue to remain aware of the chest, the abdomen, the movement of the wall, the expansion of your thoracic cage of the abdomen, and the falling back once you're exhaling. Inhale, Om 3. As you exhale, Om 3. Inhale, Om 4. Exhale, Om 4. Inhale, Om 5. Exhale, Om 5. Now you can drop your awareness of the breath. You can drop your awareness of the movement. Take your awareness to the sounds that you can hear around you. Be it sound starting from your own body, your heartbeat, the voice of the instructor, the movement of the fan in the room, an occasional bird calling, few sounds of horn from vehicles on the road. Become aware of the different sounds that you can hear around you. Take your awareness back to the body or the Annamaya Kosha. Feel the presence of this body in the room, seated on the floor. Feel all the parts of the body that are in contact with the floor. And once you feel you've externalized your awareness, you can rub your palms until they become nice and warm. Now cup your palms thoroughly and place them on your eyes and feel the heat pass on from the palms into your eyes. And once you've completed, you can drop your hands down and open your eyes. Hari Om again. So we had a wonderful session where we understood about how Ayurveda is able to look at the body and what are the few things that you can do to make sure that, whether you've contracted COVID-19 or any other disease for that matter, a simple jwara that you may have, all of it, how can you handle it, and what are the things that you should definitely keep in mind while taking medicine or when you're taking food. Now that deals with the entirety of the Annamaya Kosha. So we said that we would also discuss about the Pranamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha. Now, taking the Pranamaya Kosha, I would like to talk about just the practice of awareness that you did right now. You became aware of a process that happens without any effort on your part. When you're inhaling and exhaling, you're not always aware of it. Do you know how many breaths that are taken in and sent out through a day? Are you aware of every single breath that goes in? No, this doesn't happen. Right. So why is it important to become aware of something that's happening naturally, even otherwise? That is because this is the process that is helping with providing energy and making sure that you can actually function. Even if you don't eat or you don't sleep, say for a week, you will be able to survive. You will actually still be living. Whereas if you aren't able to breathe and your pranamaya kosha stops functioning, ceases to exist, then they say pranan padhu when a person is, dead. And that is what happens to you. So the pranamaya kosha is extremely important. I'm not going to reiterate again because everybody knows it. The thing that I want to talk about is from the perspective of physiology. Now, when you inhale and exhale, in this process, you take in air and you let out air. The volume of air that you take in and let out without, using any of your awareness in that is called as tidal volume, and that is 1/2 liter. Now, say when you did the practice of abdominal and chest breathing, you were actually aware of how much air you were breathing in, and you may have put in some more effort into it. So if you put more effort, the maximum amount of air that you can inspire is 2 liters. And that is called your inspiratory reserve volume. Then you've got the amount of air that you can expire out with the same amount of effort. You put in an effort, and what can you breathe out? That is 1.5 liters, or your expiratory reserve volume. And 1/2 liter of air is always retained in the lung itself, because as you know, when you exhale, the lung doesn't collapse. It doesn't become, one shrunken tissue. There is still air present inside. There is space, and that is filled with some amount of residual volume of air, which is another 1/2 liter. So if you put all of these together, you get 4 liters of air. And 4 liters in comparison to the normal 1/2 liter that you inhale and exhale is about 8 times the total. So the amount of, effort that you are taking for breathing right now is only 1/8 of your total capacity. So that has a lot of implications. If you think about it, just by simple practices of pranayama, of even nadi, which is your nadishodhan pranayama, breath awareness, and yogic breathing, which involves using your chest and your abdominal muscles and expanding the chest cavity, as well as opening out your abdominal region by using your diaphragm and breathing to the fullest capacity. Your abdomen expands and comes out and contracts and goes back in. So when you do this movement together, which is called yogic breathing, all of these practices together enhance the volume of air that you are respiring. Why is that important? Why can't I just, breathe the 1/2 liter that I'm already used to breathing? To answer that, it comes down to the process of what happens when you breathe in. Once the air goes inside, you've got oxygenation happening, and there is a transfer. There is a process where your oxygen from the outside goes into your tissue, has to be converted into something the tissue can use, and the carbon dioxide, which has been produced by all other cells, is coming back out and being expired out. When you increase the amount of volume that you're taking in, and you also hold the air within, during this process, you are increasing the optimum time that is available for this oxygenation to take place. So that becomes the reason as to why you should be doing pranayama. But that's not the only thing. After completing the practice, I'm sure all of you experienced a state of calm and you were able to be composed. None of you are sleeping and you are aware of what is happening in this class or session. So that becomes the second connection. Every kosha is interconnected, which is why when we look at health, it's not to say that you are just the physical entity. If you have one thing happening here, I will treat just that one thing. That's not how we look at it. We look at you as a holistic being. You are all the koshas. You are all of it put together. So when we deal with that as part of a treatment protocol, we will be looking at all of these three. Taking the Manomaya kosha, as Dr. Achit already mentioned, that a fear that is inherent in us and panic can cause so much more harm than help us heal. And even recovery, say a person who is already in the path of recovering can be pulled down again by just becoming panicked for a little bit of time. So looking at the Manomaya kosha and just taking an example. So why is it that we have so much tension in our body? Most of the time it's because there is a conflict between what we are thinking and what we want to do versus the actual action that is manifested. Again, take an example. Say you're very frustrated or you're angry and you feel like venting it out on some other animal or some creature that cannot, retaliate. And you're almost about to do it, but then you stop, seeing that it's a dog and it could bite you back, whatever be the reason. So you had a thought, the brain fired a signal through your nerves to the muscle which is supposed to do that particular action. But before you could do the action, you contradicted yourself saying, I'm not going to do this. But the energy which is required to do the action has already been passed on to the muscle. So it has a location in your body. And because you aren't aware that this is happening, you imagine there are so many things that you would have wanted to do, but you didn't do. So all those things have accumulated in your body in different parts, which are all causing tiny, tiny, tiny bits of stress and tension, which accumulated over a long period of time will obviously result in a disease process. We know of two different types of looking at diseases, psychosomatic and somatocytic. The body can influence the mind, and the mind can also influence the body. And your breathing can influence both. So making sure that you take up your breathing as the one thing that you have control over, because till now you didn't bother about it. It was a natural thing. But if you take control, you take charge of how you breathe and simply just take your awareness to the breath 3 times a day, 5 times a day. Over a period of time, it increases to maybe even all the time you are aware that you are breathing. That gives you so much perspective that you are not just the body, you're not just the mind, you are able to have a concept of awareness. So inculcating all these three in, I would actually like to conclude the session where we're just looking at the fact that you are a holistic being. When you're looking at health or disease, you have to look at yourself from the perspective of this holistic understanding. So you look at all of the perspectives that are there. And in case any of you do require any kind of help with either yogic solutions or Ayurveda solutions, please you can reach out to us and we will definitely be able to help you out. Over to the question answer session. If anyone has anything, you can directly raise it by switching on your video audio and putting forth the question. Or if not, you can type it in the chat box. We'll be open to answering that now.
Namaste to all.
Namaste ji. Please go
Am
ahead.
I audible?
Yeah.
My question is to Dr. Achit.
Yes, ma'am.
I was so interested in all those things that you told. It was certain things were really new and certain things were very encouraging because we were already following a few of them. It was like a real encouragement that, okay, we are following something good. Yeah, my question is, you were talking about the pasteurization of milk. So I would like to know how is it that we can consume milk in a better way? That's question number one.
Okay.
Shall I put all the questions or?
Yeah, you can give all the questions right away.
I have a question related to the fruits. Is there any particular list of fruits that Ayurveda prescribes, or like you said, seasonal? I would also like to have a little more insight on that because at this point, I would also like to say that some of them here already know. Both me and my husband, we had COVID like a month back, both of us.
Okay.
We were luckily out of it. And the two of us, we had different effects of COVID.
Okay.
So we are still in experimental process as to how to make us get better. So all these inputs from you would be very useful for us.
Sure. So the first question was how to consume milk if not pasteurized, right? I mean, what is the best way to consume milk? So if I have to talk about milk, it will take at least the next half an hour because there is so much about milk that we have to know, especially the present commercial milk that we are getting. It is not just the pasteurization. After this Jallikattu protest that we had, I think most of us know that there are two types of milk. That is A1 casein protein milk and A2 casein protein milk. So the A1 milk is the milk which we generally get in packets, or commercial milk that we get is the A1 milk. And desi cow's milk, not Pasmatu Pal, has A2 cow's milk. So be it A1 milk or A2 milk, if it is pasteurized, it is completely useless. That is a different thing altogether. If you are going to have some kind of milk which is raw, which has not been pasteurized in any way, we have to make sure that it is not A1 quality milk. It should be A2 milk. And when I tell this to patients, generally what they tell me is that, "Ama doctor, na pasumadu palu dhaan edukkuren" appdinu solluvaanga. So pasumadu is different, Nattu pasumadu is different. Pasumadu is a cross between Nattu Pasu and the Jersey cow or any other foreign breed. So we can identify that with the help of the thimil that the cow has. It will have a small hump, right? So even the cows will have that hump, desi cows. But the pasumadu that we can see on the streets don't generally have that. So if we can get desi cow's milk, there are a lot of people who provide A2 milk to our houses itself. If you can get that milk, many people don't pasteurize nowadays after understanding the problems with that. If you can get that milk, you can boil it well and then have it immediately. I would not recommend you to again freeze it because that again has an impact on the bacteria which is present in the milk. So this would be a precise answer for that. And what was the second question? Sorry, I forgot.
Second question is related to fruits.
Yeah, fruits. Okay. So regarding fruits, as I told you, yes, seasonal fruits are okay. Ayurveda specifically talks about two fruits. One is grapes, the other one is pomegranate. These are the two fruits which Ayurveda extensively talks about a lot. I don't know why Ayurveda doesn't talk about other fruits as much. It also talks about mango, etc. But it specifically talks a lot about draksha and pomegranate. There are medicines also which are prepared from these two fruits. So, but then the grapes that we get today, be it the seedless grapes or the grapes which we commercially get today, are not the grapes that Ayurveda originally talked about. And in Ayurveda, it is specifically told, though grapes are very healthy, dried grapes are much healthier than the fresh grapes. So how can you consume dried grapes? What you can do is, this is a very effective way for preventing most of the conditions, especially for improving the hemoglobin levels in your body. It also improves the energy levels, etc. You can soak the dry grapes overnight, have it in the morning. The soaked grapes, you can have it in the morning along with the water in which it is soaked in. So this will have not lot of nutrients in it. So every day you can have this, because since it is dried, it will be available for you 365 days in a year. So you can have that. And pomegranate, I would tell you from personal experience, pomegranate is a fruit that every single one of us must have every single day. So apart from these two fruits, I would tell you whatever is seasonally available in your region, that is helpful for you. And with respect to COVID, I would suggest you to avoid citrus fruits because that can cause cold. I wouldn't suggest everyone to avoid it. Generally, if we have a very bad diet, what happens is a lot of toxins get stuck in your body. These fruits, what they do is they bring that out. It seems as if we get cold, but that is not the actual cold. It is the fruits helping you let out those toxins. But then if it is not addressed properly, that cold itself can cause infection. For that reason, I tell you to prevent having citrus fruits. All of the fruits should be okay. And if you're having citrus fruits also, if you have it like a salad, because if you have 3-4 fruits, along with that, if you have one citrus fruit, these fruits will take care of the citric effect of the other fruit. And the other thing that you can do to prevent colds is that you can add little honey to these fruits and have. That can also help you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. That was very, very enlightening. Actually. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Haripriya, am I audible?
Namaste. Yeah, you're audible, ma'am.
Can you tell any easy way to which we can identify? I mean, if we are unable to go, I mean, we can't visit doctors and get to know our prakriti, like you said, Vata.
Yes.
How can we know with our own ways? Is there any easy way?
Actually, there is no, I mean, it is an easy way, but it is a bit complex. It is a simple way. Actually, we have a YouTube channel, Ayurveda. We recently made a video on Prakriti. It is like a short film. We made certain aspects of the Prakriti and how those people react to a certain situation. For example, if there are 3 people, one is Kapha Prakriti, Pitta Prakriti, and Vata Prakriti. If they are put in a particular environment in a circumstance, how do they respond to a circumstance? For example, if they are waiting in a particular place, a Pitta person would be irritated easily. He would become angry easily. He'd be generally short tempered. But a Vata Prakriti person would not stay in a particular place. He would be roaming all around. He would be wandering. He would never be calm, and he would never have a calm mind in general. And a Kapha Prakriti people would not mind of all these. He would be sitting and he would be in his own world, or probably having a nap. So this is generally, in a vague sense, this is how we can identify Kapha, Pitta, and Vata in this particular aspect. There are around 40 to 50 aspects in which we can identify Prakriti. And even though if we see Vata, Pitta, and Kapha separately, in this Yuga, in this Kali Yuga, nobody is plain Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. It is a combination of 2 or 3 doshas. That is, for example, my Prakriti is Pitta Kapha. My brother's Prakriti is Kapha Pittam. So generally there is a mixture of the first dosha, which I tell is the predominant dosha. The next one is the next highest dosha. Vata is much lesser than these two. So once we identify this, it helps us identify what specifically is helpful for us. As I told you, there is no particular simple one step way of identifying the Prakriti. At least I am not aware of any such things. If Anandi or Madhumita are aware of any such things, they can go forward.
I just wanted to add one thing. Am I audible? Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd want to add here is that you can start with observing for yourself. Of course, approaching a practitioner will give it, quicker answer you may be able to get. But to be able to, become aware of what are all the changes that you can see. There are many things that you can look at. How is your appetite? What is the general mental predisposition that you have in any kind of situation? What kind of bowel movements do you have? How is your sleep? Very basic questions. If you just start jotting down for yourself and you observe a pattern over a period of time, you yourself will understand these are things that are triggering me. These are things that are helping me to get, an elevation from any kind of, small disturbances that you have. Say you have, just taking one example, a Vata Prakriti person has a high chance of having what's called Nakha Bedam. The nails tend to break very easily. Or they may have what is Vipadika, or cracking of the soles that can happen. So a regular checkup of yourself. How is your skin? How are the eyes? Is there any hair fall? Is your tongue coated? Basic set of questions. You can easily find it. It's there online also. And you can take that assessment, do an assessment, and keep that result as one thing that you can, understand for yourself and start observing for yourself. This is one method to go about it. Second thing you can do is approach a Vaidya like Dr. Achit or any other practitioner and go for a systemic and a proper analysis. If you get the result based on that also, you can directly take forward what kind of measures that you can adopt to make sure that your health is at its best. So a Vata Prakriti person will have a certain set of things that if they do when they're already healthy, they can prevent joint pain that may occur later. They can prevent a lower back pain that may occur later. So a preventive aspect is what you are talking about. Understanding your own Prakriti is of the highest importance in this context. So by knowing that, you can prevent any further thing that may occur later. That's all I wanted to add.
Sir, Shreyas here. I have a question regarding fitness in the summer months.
I didn't get you. Regarding the
fitness in the summer months. Usually for up to 6 to 8 months a year, I find it quite normal to be fit and fine, and I'm able to move from one place to another without a problem. I don't know if my background is important, but I was born with hydrocephaly and meningomyelocele. So yeah, but now I'm able to negate it for most part of the year. But in the summer months, I don't know if my diet is somewhere I'm going wrong or something, but I tend to drink a lot of lime juice, thinking that that is cooling my body down, and a lot of mango juice. I don't know if any of those is, creating a negative effect. So I'd just like to clarify. So, if I'm inadvertently lowering my strength. So yeah.
Okay. So how do you think it is affecting your fitness? In what way do you think it is affecting your fitness?
So one way I've been aware of is if I drink too much or my level of lower body strength, I'm not able to move as fast as I can.
Okay.
So I'm reducing the quantity. And then one thing that you said was the citrus may not click with some people.
Yes, especially Pitta Prakriti people. You are one Pitta Prakriti. It seems like you are a Pitta Prakriti person. So citrus, anything sour generally doesn't suit you much. But then regarding the summer and fitness question, it is true that in Ayurveda it is told in the summer months, you have to reduce your exercise up to half your body strength, lesser than half your body strength. That is, during summer months, it is quite evident that we are easily dehydrated, right? So what happens when we get dehydrated? Our body's a necessity or the body's demand for moisture or enough blood supply increases. Because of that, we will need to keep hydrating ourselves. And in this process of hydrating ourselves, exercise doesn't help much, right? Because exercise can lead to dehydration in one way. So I would suggest you could try some exercises which are not very tiring in nature, but then an exercise which can improve your flexibility. One example could be asanas. Asanas, most of the time you would remain in one particular place, and you wouldn't be you wouldn't strain yourself too much, so that you'll not be sweating too much. It is important to sweat, but too much is not generally recommended. So I would suggest you that, or probably some floor exercises or something. You can do that, or walking early in the early mornings when it is not too hot outside. Even that can help you. And regarding the juices, mango juice or any juice for that matter, juices are okay. Juices can hydrate you well, but then what happens is that, especially when you have juices, for example, let's take orange as an example. Say orange has around 10 grams of sugar in it. If you are able to have an orange as a fruit, because of the fiber content, you cannot have more than 2 oranges in a day. Say for an example. So you are having only 20 grams of sugar in a day. So you make it into a juice, what happens because of the lack of fiber content, you can have more than 4 or 5 oranges and you can have the same satiety that you feel, satiation. So what happens is that you have 50 to 60 grams of sugar in the same amount of stomach fullness that you had when you were having the fruit. That is, when you have the fruit, you consume lesser quantity of sugar by itself. When you have too much of juices, you by nature you drink lot of sugars which are naturally present in the fruit itself. Though it is naturally present in the fruit, any high sugar content can make you more thirsty. So this is becoming a vicious circle for you. So what you can do is there is something called as Shadangapanim, which is readily available in most shops. And I think in grocery shops also nowadays, one KP Nambudri's drink is there. I don't remember the actual name of that. Anandi, do you remember the name? Rasodi, okay. And I think there are many paniyams like that which are available, especially they are popular during the summer days. So what you can do is you can prepare a drink out of that. It has ushira, vetiver in it. So you can have, that will not be very sweet also. You can have that drink throughout the day. What it does is it hydrates you. At the same time, it keeps a check on your digestion, and it also does not increase the sugar content in your body. Because of that, you will not feel thirsty frequently. So this can also help you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
much. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, my name is Lakshmikant.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, that many that yogis scriptures, okay, that milk they are not recommending to take actually, because what they're telling is up to 3 years, okay, that God has given a gift for a small child to digest. They're having a particular enzymes. Okay, it will lead for a digestion, because for elders it is not available. Okay, for that they're not recommending for that. Examples in Sadhguru in many videos, okay, that he tells. But in Ayurveda it tells actually it is one type of amruta type. Okay, milk is a amruta. Yeah, then okay, it is getting contradictory. Yogic versus, because Ayurveda and yoga both hands to hands together. No, okay, it is in Shat Darshana. It is coming okay, hands to hands together. It is having a controversy. Can you please?
Sure, sir. I'll actually this is not a misconception. I would say too much of information is maybe confusing us in some way. This is not just the concept of yoga. Even naturopathy says that we shouldn't consume milk, because what the logic that they say, as you have already mentioned, sir, is that the milk that the cow produces or the cow gives is for the calf. So the nutritive content of the milk helps in improving the physical stature of the calf, because the calf grows in a rapid way. So this milk is helpful for the calf to grow in that particular manner. It helps to a lesser extent nourishing your mental state, and it helps in further nourishing your physical body. That is what it does to a calf. But then mother's milk, on the other hand, is completely different. It is exclusively manufactured for the child. This is what generally naturopaths say. I haven't specifically read any yoga shastras in which they have mentioned that you shouldn't have milk. I personally don't have any idea of that. But then Ayurveda specifically says that milk is extremely good for the body. It is one of the best drinks for improving something called as the ojas. Madhumita has already mentioned what ojas is in the beginning. So milk is considered as a wonderful, like as you told, it is considered equal to amrita. But then the quantity of milk that a person should have and who must consume milk has not been generally propagated well to the public. In Ayurveda, it is told Shatakshinam. That is, if you are completely tired, if you are ridden of all the nutrients in your body, if you are completely dehydrated, if you are completely, say, you don't have enough strength in your body, in such cases, serum is the best food. Why is that? Because in the same way, a calf is fed with so much of nutrition in such a small span, so much of nutrition is necessary for that particular person to recover from the condition. So in such cases, kshiram is helpful. Apart from that, if a person has to have kshiram every day, the quantity should not be more than 100 ml to 150 ml. and it should be warm, and it should be desi cow's ghee, and it should not be pasteurized. These are the prerequisites. To be very frank, in my clinic specifically, I recommend every single one of my patients to avoid having milk, because even the desi cow's milk that we get today is kept in a freezer in 4 degrees Celsius, and then we receive it. By the time we receive it, due to the extreme cold temperatures, scientifically, we cannot say there is any change in the physical aspect of the kshira, but then we see that the vata increases in the milk. Because of that, the point for which we are giving kshira itself is lost. Milk itself is lost, because milk can help us in reducing this vata. So because of that reason, I tell generally people to avoid milk. And the question that I get immediately after that is, then what do I do for calcium? This is the first question that I get. So there is one fact that I really tell to these people. What do you think is the quantity of calcium in milk? Can anybody just guess? What do you think is the calcium in about 100 ml or 150 ml of milk? How much mg do you think calcium is available in it?
10 mg.
Okay, 10 mg. Oh, fine. Okay. Any other guesses?
I don't know exactly how much mg, but actually compared to milk, no? Okay, yellow, you will call tillu. Okay, it is having a more more content than the milk. Actually, it is a replacement. We can do replacement. That I know.
Yes. Wonderful. The extremely informed audience. So it contains around 100 ml of milk contains around 100 mg of calcium, approximately 100 to 120 mg of calcium. This is generally considered high, but then as other person has also mentioned, it is not just 100. In 100 grams of yellow, it has 900 mg of calcium, approximately 9 times that of milk. Calcium is present. But then the next question after I tell this is that how can I have 100 grams of yellow in a day? I can have 100 ml of milk. How can I have 100 grams of yellow? I tell them no need to have 100 grams of yellow. 1/9 of that is enough, right? If 100 grams is enough for you, 100 mg is enough for you, 1/9 of that should be enough. So that is around 10 grams. So you can get that from one yellow runda or one yellow podi. So you can have yellow runda or yellow podi. So if you are not okay with yellow runda or yellow podi because it can increase body's heat, there is another option also, badam. Almonds contain around 400 to 500 mg of calcium in the same 100 grams of content which is there in milk. That is, it contains around 4 to 5 times of calcium of that of milk. And orange contains 3 times that of milk calcium. And spinach contains 4 times calcium. So we have many other options for calcium if it is only about the calcium. But then it is not just about the calcium. If we can get kshiram, the original kshiram, if we can have a cow in our thinnai, like how we had maybe a century ago or even 50, 60 years ago, there is no replacement for that. There is no doubt that kshiram is one of the best foods in the best drinks or food in the world. But then the kshiram that the modern scientists are generally talking about, or the naturopaths are talking about, is not about the desi cow's ghee. Naturopathy has originated in Europe. So they have majorly tested only the European cow's milk. So they are talking specifically about the A1 cow's milk. That is why they have so much hatred for that milk. So if they can actually research on our cow's milk, they would come to know that it is much different and much better, not in just the physical form, it can also improve the body's prana. I hope I have answered in some way or the other.
Yeah. It's
okay.
Nice information.
So my personal opinion is that you can happily avoid milk. No need to have milk every day, especially the milk.
And one more question, actually. One more. See, because we are a pure vegetarian. Okay, we are a pure vegetarian. Next question for every vegetarian. Okay, next question it will call B12 deficiency. Okay, one source is that in one way milk also it is not having much B12.
Yes.
But then how to
very
replace
minimal.
it?
So milk is not going to completely replace B12 for you. Milk maybe gives you 100th amount of B12 that you need for in a day. So actually regarding B12, there is something radical which I would like to tell you. Non-vegetarianism or vegetarianism or veganism, as much as it is a fad today, was never a concept in ancient India. We were all non-vegetarians. Eating non-veg was never considered as an unholy thing. There is a story of one butcher. I don't remember the name of the story. I think most of us are aware of that. A butcher and a saint who leaves his parents and goes and does penance. And there is a butcher who takes care of his parents and then does butchering. This person gets mukti and the other person doesn't. So I don't actually remember the name of the story. It is from some Upanishad, I suppose. I'm telling this example because butchering was also not considered as such a big papa. But then as the times changed, yes, Hariom.
The name of the Munivar, I think, is Kaushika Munivar, and the butcher is Dharma Vyadha.
I think so, because I have read that long back. It is a wonderful katha. It has such a wonderful moral in it. But the point I am trying to tell you is that non-vegetarianism was never considered as unholy in ancient India. But then because of how we are considering animals to be in today's era and how we are butchering them as if they belong to us, as if we own them, is something wrong. So Ayurveda specifically never talked about B12 or how vegetarians can get B12. But then I have been researching on this for a long time because I personally am a vegetarian. So what I found is that this is very interesting. What I found is that in 1980s, okay, there was an American researcher who researched in probiotics. What is probiotics? Our gut, our intestines, and the small intestine and the large intestines contain certain healthy bacteria in it, and these bacteria can manufacture vitamins. Yes, they can manufacture vitamins. Most of the vitamin K that you get in your body is from these bacteria. Lots of times what happens is when after we pass our stools, if we keep those stools, if we test those stools, we can see that every single one of us will have huge amount of B12 in it, because there is a certain bacteria which is present in the descending colon which specifically produces lot of B12. This is known by the modern medicine, but then this theory is negated because there is no absorption from the large colon, that is from the descending colon into the body. Though there is a lot of vitamin B12 available, it is not being absorbed by the body in the large intestine. If the body should get B12, it should be absorbed from the small intestine, where they say there is no bacteria for production of B12. But the interesting part is this researcher who did the research in 1980s, he found that specifically Indians had a certain bacteria which was specifically present in the small intestine, which was producing a lot of B12, it seems. Only Indians were having it. The research, there was no further research after that. Nobody has done research after that. I don't know why. If I can get enough grant, maybe I can do that. So it was found that Indians had a lot of B12 producing bacteria in their small intestine. So they need not get it from outside. So because of survival of the fittest or some reason, we already had some source of B12, not from the external environment, from our bodies itself. We were manufacturing it. So in today's era, it was found that in most of the people, especially in the Western societies, even during that time, this bacteria was not present in small intestine. Even today, we are not getting that. That is why there is so much of B12 deficiency. The only thing that I can tell you is, okay, have B12 shots. That is the only thing we can do. Or improve the gut bacteria. For that, you can have a lot of fiber, lot of ghee. All these can help you. And milk is not the only solution for B12.
Hariom, this is Srikanth. Two questions. I have one for Doctor and one for Anandi. The question is like for you, the doctor, is like, I've been a migraine patient for 20 years now. So one of the Ayurvedic, I've been trying to attack the source of the migraine. One of the Ayurvedic doctor told me that my Pitta, I have some problems with the digestion. Pitta, something he told me like related to Pitta Nadi is not digestion, right? So it's like about some few years back. He also gave some medications for that period. So he said that is due to which your migraine is getting triggered when you eat some kind of food. For instance, now I'm allergic to nuts. All kind of nuts I'm allergic. Whenever I eat nuts, I get a migraine immediately. And sleep deprival. These are, but mainly nuts is a major issue. Any kind of nuts I'm allergic to, I get a severe migraine. So right now in this kind of cases, obviously you just spoke about vegetarianism. I'm practicing towards becoming a vegan from a vegetarian, more or less a vegan right now. So my question is, nuts is a major form of vegetarianism at this point, right? So it's becoming difficult as it is having lower options without nuts, it's becoming very difficult to survive. The nutrients is becoming lesser. So how do I avoid when I have this? So I'll also complete the question for Anandi and then I'll listen to the answer if you don't mind. Or should I finish yours and then ask?
No, sure, go ahead.
The question for Anandi is like, Anandi, so you talked about, watching the breath. There are various kinds of breathing techniques that I've been part of, including the one that you took class fantastically last week. There was one Vipassana meditation that I went for about 9 hours whole day. They said that you have to just close your eyes and just watch your breath. Don't do anything else. For 9 hours, you just watch your breath and then just do that. I mean, obviously, it was very difficult, and the concentration kept going off, coming in, and it was phenomenally difficult to do for that 9 hours. And they have 9-day meditation programs like that, just being idle for the whole day. So the question to you is like, how many times, right? You said 1 or 2 or 3 times, right? So what benefit do I get by watching the breath or watching the breath more number of times? Do I get a benefit or what benefit? That's the question I have. Yeah. Over to you, doctor.
Okay. So I can give you 2 solutions. The first thing is, what nutrient do you think you are missing out on? If you can find what nutrient you are missing out on with the help of blood test or something, you can supplement that for you, especially if you are a vegan. But then personally, my suggestion would be not to be a vegan. Vegetarianism is very good. Veganism is not practically good because what happens is that they do not consume ghee specifically. Ghee is a superfood. What happens is that vegans generally completely avoid ghee and also milk. If we can get natural milk, it is okay. If not, okay, at least you can get ghee. But vegans don't even have ghee, and they have either soya milk or almond milk or some coconut milk. Generally, this is the substitutes that they have. So what happens is that if you are having soya milk, for example, soya is world's #1 genetically modified food. So in the path of becoming a vegan, we shouldn't become unhealthy, right? So what happens is that when we substitute certain foods which are traditionally a part of our cuisine with some other substitute which has been given by the Western science presently, it can harm our health in multiple ways, not just with deficiencies. So with respect to nuts, as I told you, generally nuts contain fiber in it, proteins in it, omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids in it, and certain trace elements of minerals in it. So if you think that you are missing out on omega-3 or omega-6, you can get that in capsule forms from outside, or ghee contains lots of omega-3 and omega-6 in it. And if you think that you are missing out on fiber, you can get that enough from fruits and vegetables. If you think that you are missing out on protein, you can get that from traditional rice or hand pounded rice. All these contain a lot of protein in it. So it depends on what you think you are missing out on. If you can identify that, we can supplement that. And with respect to migraine is actually, it is not a disease. I would say migraine is a symptom. Every time a person gets headache or migraine, it is because of some root cause which is triggering this migraine in most cases. So if we find the trigger, we will be able to completely treat that condition. So in your case, as he mentioned that you were having some gastritis, we have to approach and treat that in the right way, which can help you receive enough nutrition into the body, and that can help you further.
Okay. So if we should meet to do a one-on-one diagnosis to check further. That's what.
Sure. Yes, that would be necessary for the right treatment.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add on one thing, that all of the details for the consultation is also available on SYCT, the website itself. His contact will also be given in case anyone requires it. So you can contact us through the center's website for that.
Sure.
With regard to what you had asked about how does awareness actually help, and how long are you supposed to, be aware of your breath, and what kind of benefit do you gain from that? Okay. Taking one thing here, not to compare or to put down any other system or say that Vipassana is not going to work, but we approach it from the basic method where when we introduce breath awareness in class here, we start from using it as a tool along with your asana practice. So when we incorporate it along with your Pavan Muktasanas or the basic set of practices that are introduced, you start with that, and because in that practice it gets inculcated. During the practice, all you are aware of is your breath, the movement, you're visualizing that part, the number of times you're supposed to be doing that particular practice for. So when you are able to bring the focus to an extent where it is within a particular set of activities, that is the first advantage. The second thing is over a period of time. So it's a gradual process. We cannot introduce breath awareness as a practice for somebody who is totally new to the system, who has never done it before. And the first time you do is directly 9 hours. So we know that everything is done in moderation. And we start our steps also from moderation. So we go with the asanas. Once you've gotten used to a schedule where you're practicing on a daily basis, then you take it one step ahead and look into the prana itself, and we look at breath awareness separately. From there, when we go to pranayama, all of your focus goes towards just the prana. At that time, you're not focusing on any other part or any other activity. It brings the focus to one more thing, which is just the breath. And from there, when you're able to maintain that awareness, the entire point of taking your awareness towards breath is that you will be able to focus, and that focus can then be used in all other situations. So the cultivation of awareness becomes one thing. The second thing is in relation to what we saw about Manomaya Kosha. Breath itself, when you're becoming aware of your breath, it is an emotionally neutral activity. Because you're aware of your breath, you're not going to become angry, you're not going to become happy. There's no emotion connected with the practice of breath awareness. It is emotionally neutral. So it becomes one of the most easy techniques to induce relaxation in the body. So when you want to relax, when you lie down, you've let go of the entire body, you take your awareness to your breath, it becomes easy for you because it is an emotionally neutral thing. And that induces a state where your tensions are all released from the body. Then that also affects the mind. So this is how this works out.
Okay. Thank you. And just one more counter question to that. Obviously, they came for this corporate program we had to do. They also said that this watching your breath can also lead to a weight loss. Is that possible?
Without okay. When you're breathing and when you're watching your breath, it also enhances the capacity of the breath itself. So you're able to breathe more. The metabolism is better. Over a period of time, you're influencing not only your respiratory system, your digestive, your every other system that is involved. So connecting it from that point of view, it will help with even weight loss. But taking that as the goal, saying now I'm going to be aware of my breath for 21 counts, I'm going to burn this many calories. It doesn't work like that. It works as a whole system, right?
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
I have one question. My son is taking protein drink. He's doing gym exercise and all. So he's so convinced with the protein drink, and he says, I'm doing so many research, then only I'm taking this. He even suggesting me to have, because I'm a yoga teacher basically. So I'm totally against it, but I don't know how I can go about it.
Okay. Actually speaking, I mean, if he's directly here, I would have told something to him. But then the thing is, when we supplement ourselves with any particular thing for a particular activity, it helps until that activity persists. That is, if you consume a lot of protein and then you exercise, it does help in your improvement of the muscle mass, etc. But then once you stop exercising, you will see the real results of the protein powder only after that. What it does is your body would have had so much of protein for that particular period of time, and suddenly once you stop the exercise gradually, because nobody can do that much of exercise after their prime age. Generally this fat for exercise comes at around 22 23 and goes up to till probably 26 27. I'm not sure. After that, what happens is, because of the commitments that we have, slowly the exercise also reduces, and this protein intake which we had earlier will have a toll on our body, because our kidneys will be the one which will be filtering these proteins. It can damage the kidneys to a large extent, and interestingly, it can cause skin problems also. I had a patient who had too much of protein powder. He wanted to gain weight, and because of that, he had lots of rashes all over the body. He didn't know that it was because of the protein powder. I only told him to stop having that protein powder, and automatically it started reducing. We didn't have to give any other medicine. So that is also possible. So I don't know how you're going to convey this to your son, but then there is another simple way. You can just Google the research articles, evidence-based research articles on protein powders. There are lots of articles which are for and against. You find 2-3 articles which are against that, and then you can show that to him.
No, I tried, but he's having all the for documents to convince me. And you mean to say, even if he stops taking the protein powder for about, if he's not doing any exercise, the amount which he had already, that will affect him. That's what you are telling.
It depends upon the quantity of protein powder that he consumed and the period for which he consumed. Those factors are also present. Apart from that, there are varieties of protein powders available. Whey protein, vegetable whey protein, even lots of derivatives are there. Even I'm not aware of all those, but then there are many varieties. Each variety can have a certain effect on your body. So generally a fitness expert can help you better with this, but then what happens is that they suggest you to have this. So they would know the varieties, but then they would suggest you. They are not looking at the bigger picture. That is the problem.
Yeah.
So
I just like to add one thing here. I saw a lot of questions coming up upon supplements of protein, of vitamin B12, this, that is late. So basically, when you take the nutrition for your body, I feel there are two aspects to it. One thing is, how much nutrition are you able to derive from the food that you have? Take it as if you consume a food item which you say is rich in this particular nutrient, how fit your body or your Agni is capable of extracting from that particular food element. So there's no end to it. There will be so many more nutrients that you will be introduced to in the future. It's vitamin B12 and calcium today. There might be many more in future. So I feel people here, since you've all made such a healthy choice and you want to get to know a different perspective, you should also work on this aspect that, be it whatever the supplement that you're looking for, it should be something that your body can process first. So rather than just looking at that aspect as what I can supplement this with or what I can supplement that with, there is a basic thing that you be aware of your own health and how much of food and how much of nutrition that you can derive from what you already have in that particular aspect is something that I feel all of you can start working upon.
True, very true.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
There's just one more question, which is already in the panel. I'm sorry. We will take the next question after that. There's a question that says, one second. What is your advice for people who have ulcers? Some of the herbs that we usually take in Ayurvedic treatment, say pepper, ginger powder, etc. How do we have to handle such things when we have an ulcer? Can we take traditional spices in this case of ulcer? And if so, in what proportion?
There are many types of ulcer. There is chronicity of ulcer. There are many aspects to it. But then in a broad sense, if you have some ulcer in your body, especially stomach ulcer, then I would suggest you to not have any spices which are concentrated. There is one spice called as Yashtimadu, called as Atimaduram in Tamil. That is helpful in improving the immunity. It helps in preventing cough, cold, etc. At the same time, it is also very helpful in healing ulcers. So you can have this Atimaduram. This can be a middle ground between people who have ulcers and who want to improve their immunity or prevent diseases also. And with regard to pepper, ginger, inji, etc. Interestingly, we all know what is inji and what is chukku, right? Inji is the fresh form, chukku is the dried one, right? So generally in Ayurveda, it is told inji can increase the body's heat and then prevent cold, cough, etc. But chukku need not necessarily increase the body's heat to such a high extent, such a great extent. But then it does prevent cold, cough, etc. So what you can do is you can have inji and atimaduram, chukku and atimaduram together as a tea, and you can consume that. That can help you.
One question, can I ask?
Sure.
Can I ask, Hariom? Yeah.
We can, please go ahead.
Yeah, recently I recovered from COVID. So for first 7 days of COVID, it was actually very normal. On the 8th day or something, actually, I don't know, I got many news about COVID or some bad news and things like that. And on that night, I was not able to sleep.
Okay.
The next day, I had heart palpitation. And that was the first time I had heart palpitation. So I thought it was because of COVID and went to doctor. So they advised me to take a CT scan and all this. So I took that on the same day, and then they told the severity score is 0. And they also asked me, they told me that your yoga and all has helped you. So good and all. And I am also a SYCT student for last 2 years. So thanks to the Parampara and the
Great.
But after knowing that also, that another night I was not able to sleep. That was 9th day. The one reason was like I had kids who were downstairs and elders and all, parents and all. And it continued, and 10, 11, 12, continuously I was not able to sleep. So it became like 5 nights of no sleep at all. And all the days I was having heart palpitations continuously. I was not able to do it, and I did not know it is because of COVID or something. And then later, after 14 days, I went to doctor, some heart specialist, and he told like it is nothing. It is because of anxiety. So he subscribed me sleeping pill. So it's called Ativan or something. So then I had that, and I was very happy for the first 2 days that I had sleep. The moment I had sleep, I could feel that the heart palpitation stopped. I thought now I am finally done. After 3 days, I stopped. The 4th night when I slept, I had nightmares like I've never had in my life. The dreams were so scary, and that itself started increasing the heart palpitation once again. So then the next day again I took pills. Then again I continued for 2-3 days and then stopped. Now the nightmares have come down if I don't take, or I don't know. But what happened is like when I try to sleep, my legs or my hands become very numb, and that wakes me up from the sleep. For some reason or the other, I'm not able to sleep continuously for more than 1 hour or so. It's because of disturbed sleep, dreams, or the numbness, or something. It's been continuing. Now it's been 1 month. And if you Google it, they say it's coronasomania. They have given a new name to it. And I should have also stopped Googling about many things about corona, post-recovery and all. Unfortunately, I made that mistake. So now I myself broke the tablet into half and then had it yesterday night. I could feel that if I don't have the tablet, the sleep is disturbed. Next day, there is some kind of heart palpitation. And there's also weakness in the body. Now the weakness is, I don't know, I have never experienced such weakness in this post-recovery period. I have tried having many things. And I have also went to Ayurveda doctor also prescribed me few things for my gut and all. After that, actually, my appetite have increased.
Okay.
Maybe I will tell you offline what is it that I am having. But now, how to get out of this sleeping or anxiety, which I have not had in my life till now. And so now, even for normal work, also, if I do something, if it is tense, I can feel the heart palpitation. So, how to get out of it?
Okay, I'll tell you actually one interesting example. I don't actually remember the name of the Mahan. It is either Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Swami or Yogi Ram Sarat Kumar. Either of them, they were against anesthesia actually during surgeries. They were once given anesthesia without their consent, and the surgery was done. After they're out of that surgery, that Mahan, he asked them, it seems, what did you give to me? They told it was some anesthetic agent. He mentioned that என்ன கொடுத்தீங்கன்னு தெரியல, நரகத்தை விட கேவலமா இருந்தது அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்க. So it was worse than hell. So though it numbs down the mind or the body to an extent, it takes us into different planes of our mind, which are the subconscious planes of our mind, which are not generally desirable. So that possibly could be the effect that you are facing. You have come in touch with some particular aspect of your mind. And the other interesting thing is that there is a condition called as SIBO, SIBO. You can Google that. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It means that there is too much bacteria in your small intestine. One of the interesting and less known symptoms of that condition is brain fog. Now, after COVID, there is as you told, there is a condition called as brain fog after COVID. Lots of people are suffering from that. There is lots of accumulation of harmful bacteria in your intestines, in your small intestines. Now, they are not able to treat that because if they give antibiotics, it not only kills the bacteria in your small intestines, but it also helps kills the helpful bacteria which is there in your large intestine. So if they think, okay, we'll give probiotics. If they give probiotics, it is already increasing the whatever present bacteria is also increasing. So they can neither give probiotics nor antibiotics. But Ayurveda has a very good solution. That is what you have already also tried. We give Deepana Pachanas. That is something which improves the appetite and helps in absorption. What it does is, we see on what these bacteria feed on. As I told you before also, bacteria feeds on semi-digested particles in the body. If whatever you have is completely digested, how is it possible for the bacteria to have any food? If you have something which is completely digested, then the bacteria are starved upon. They don't have anything to munch on. So what happens is that they starve and they die off. Because of that, the harmful bacteria is killed by itself. There is no need for us to give any medicine. So there is a medicine called as Musta. I don't know if they have given you this medicine. There is a medicine called as Mustarishtam. There is a medicine called as Chitrakadivati. These are generally given during the fever or after the fever or just before the fever. These medicines can improve the appetite, and I have seen in many patients it reduces the brain fog. Brain fog is nothing but all these conditions that you have mentioned: lack of clear thinking, heart palpitations, sometimes bad dreams. All these can be concised under brain fog. So what you can do is that you can improve the digestion and absorption in your body. That alone can help you. There are multiple ways in which you can do that. Simplest way, again, coming back to rasam only, because it contains pepper, inji, etc., chukka, etc., which can improve the digestion and absorption. That is the simplest home remedy that we have in our hand right now. Apart from that, there are many spiritual solutions also available, and manasika treatments like pranayama, etc., that can also help you a lot. And Anandi would be a better person for you to get help
Thank you
from.
so much. You
Yes.
hit the nail rightly, because actually before this I was actually not confident of allopathy treatment when I got COVID. So first days I did not take any medicine. So like by seeing YouTube videos, or I don't know how I got motivated, I thought my immune system will fight. Fourth day I had like body aches, the sense like even if my shirt touches the body, I was able to feel pain. It was very different for our fourth and fifth day. Then I went to the doctor. That is when they prescribed me medicine. So they told me to have for 3 days, but I had 3 doses and I was completely recovered from that issue of ache or anything. After that, no fever. But from 5th day and 6th day after taking that, there was some stomach upset that happened. 6th and 7th day, after many news and everything that piled up and more of unnecessary Googling, that night that stomach upset along with the sleep started to disturb. So like I said, you have told me the right, and I think by
this is very common after COVID. It generally occurs. And dependency on sleeping pills are also very common. You can, in Ayurveda, it is told, pada padena va tyajet. Step by step, little by little, you should reduce and you should stop it. You should never stop any. Allopathic medicines are bad habits. You should never stop any bad habit all of a sudden. So you can bring it down step by step, little by little. So what you can do is you can start having half a tablet for 3 days, then take tablet on alternate days, and then you can ultimately stop the medicine. So if you come down that way, generally your body will be able to accommodate that very well.
And I will also have a one-on-one session and then take the feedback
Sure.
on.
You can also do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I go ahead with one question?
Yeah, just before we take another question. Namaste, hello. Yeah, before we take another question, there's one that's already there on the chat. There's one question as to how to initiate Agni, if possible, just a few hints. Okay. And will fasting help for removal of undigested food? I think that combines into one answer.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yes. Fasting is extremely helpful. It not just removes the undigested particle which is present in your alimentary tract, that is in your digestive system. It attacks whatever amam is present all over your body. In even the deeper tissues, it goes in, removes that and nullifies that. It is like a surgical strike. So Langhanam is very, very good. But then there is one clause here. People who are extremely thin, people who are dehydrated, children, aged people, people who get excessively hungry shouldn't fast. For such people, we have soups, we have other remedies which can ignite the appetite, which can help in absorption. So people who are able to take fasting, that is, people who don't make their bodies suffer in this process of fasting, can go forward. People who have difficulty in doing fasting, I would suggest you to first improve your body's health and then continue fasting in the later on days.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the one who asked about this ulcer. And my mom has this chronicity of, recently we found that it's a chronic ulcer stage. And the issue here is she is very much into this Ayurvedic treatment for a very long time. Whatever it is, she gets, she finds some herbs here and there and she uses for her own health and other reasons. But recently what happened was she has been having like pain, like stomach pain and even the acidity pain and all that started, and along with that chest burning and all that. So we got her tested with endoscopy and all, and they said it's a chronic acidity and chronic ulcer stage it is, and they prescribed some medicines as well that she took. But right now she is having some neuro issues, so for which already we are taking some Ayurvedic treatment for that. And along with that, during this COVID season, she got some like powders, preventive herbs powders, something like they have doctors have given. Some other Ayurvedic centers say we got it, and which she is not able to use. Once she used, and her acidity actually goes up, and the chest burning and all that goes up. So what the doctor said was like, since you are having this condition, you are not supposed to take any of this concentrated kind of thing, and especially these herbs like what to say, that pepper and ginger powder and things like that, that would keep irritating your body structure and even your stomach and other digestive areas. So better not to take all those, but he advised her to take tulsi and that adimadram, that combination herbal tea, something he suggested. And along with that, he suggested some other herbal powder too, that is like some probiotic powders and all that. So this is the condition. What I want to know is, she very much psychologically, she is very much into this Ayurvedic treatment. See, the moment someone pulls her back from Ayurvedic treatment, she is not comfortable with it. So she feels that's the only way that I can keep myself on. If allopathy or other way of treatment is not suiting her, because she is allergic to some of the medicines of allopathy as well, and she can't keep experimenting her taking some other brands and things like that. So now this is the state. What would you advise her? Because already she's been taking like neuro treatment that is completely Ayurvedic, and COVID situation mein she's not able to take these herbs now because every time it irritates.
Okay.
So I
So I completely understand what you're trying to
Dr.
convey.
Achit, I'd actually like to interject for a second. If it is a very detailed description and you require a very specific thing as what we had right now, I'd request that you actually contact Dr. Achit separately and have that done there, because the answer that he has to give you will also be very specific to your condition. Whereas something generic is what we are doing right now because it's an online platform. We already have 3 more questions which are there in the comments. So please take it with him separately. I'll give you his contact details.
So can you, where is the link and the details for contacting
We will
him?
definitely pass that on. We will definitely pass it on.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. We have, say, another 5 minutes, and I'd like to close the session after that. In those 5 minutes, we will take these 3 questions alone that are already there in the comment section. Everybody else, we can definitely have more sessions. This will be an upcoming thing, and every month we will have 1 session happening. So with new topics and new discussions, you can bring up new things that you want to know about. So we will take the 3 that are here already. Can people with extreme gastritis do fasting? Even if I miss my food for half an hour of regular time, I get gas formation and I'm without a gallbladder. This is one.
No, fasting shouldn't be done in such cases. Fasting is best avoided.
The next one is Namaste. Please tell us about the consumption of amla, about sundal, and what is the frequency and quantity? Does it help in regaining strength after COVID?
Sundal is a very broad concept. We have different parupu and their sundals. So I would suggest you to have pacha pairu sundal. It is the most healthiest one. You can have sprouted pacha pairu. You can make sundal out of it with karveppalai and jeeragam. That sundal is good for you. And the other one is amla, right? Okay, amla is a drug which is told in Ayurveda which has only 5 rasas. There are actually 6 taste rasas which are told in Ayurveda. Amla has 5 rasas in it. It is devoid of lavana rasa. It doesn't have salt taste in it. So in Ayurveda, it is told it can be had with a pinch of Saindhava lavanam, that is Himalayan rock salt. So in this way, what you can do is you can take a piece of amla, just have it with Saindhava lavanam and just consume it. Or else you can also have it with honey. That is also one way of having it. You can have it every day. It is a Nitya Sevaniya. It can be had every day. It does prevent a lot of COVID complications.
Right. Going on to the next one. Regarding non-vegetarian food habits, is anything told in Ayurveda and our Shastras for or against beef consumption?
Yes, against beef consumption. It is told Ayurveda. The one point that I want to tell you here is that Ayurveda is a completely unbiased, religiously unbiased science. So in Ayurveda, it is told that beef is not to be consumed every day, but they have never mentioned that beef is not to be consumed at all. They have mentioned that there are certain foods that are not to be consumed every day. Masha, that is urad dal, also comes under that. In the same line, they also talk about beef or buffalo's meat also. And they have told that it is one of the major causes for Atisaram, loose stools. So better not to have beef according to Ayurveda. According to Ayurveda, other non-vegetarian foods, for example, mutton or chicken, is considered as a Nitya Sevaniya itself. If you do enough physical activity, you are eligible to have mutton or chicken also on a regular basis.
Yeah. And the last one that we'll be taking for today is how much water can we consume per day?
Okay. Like sleep, Ayurveda also hasn't mentioned specific amount of water to be consumed in a day. It does depend on prakritis. But then I would say our body is extremely intelligent, much more intelligent than how much we think our body knows about us. So our body asks for something if it needs for it. For example, it asks for food with the help of hunger or appetite. It asks for water or fluids with the help of thirst. So if you feel thirsty, drink water. If you do not feel thirsty, avoid water. As simple as that. There is no rule that after waking up in the morning, you should have 2 glasses of water, 1 glass of lemon water, 1 salt pinched water, nothing like that. If you feel thirsty, have 2 gallons of water, no problem. If you don't feel thirsty, don't have. As simple as that.
Right. Again, I would like to conclude the session by mentioning that I first of all thank all of you, congratulate you for taking the step forward to try and understand what is it that Ayurveda says, how do we look at the body, what are the different principles that we have, and with respect to the pandemic, what is it that you can take as a step to taking care of your own health. So all of you are also welcome to contact any of us regarding any doubts that you have. Ayushi Ayurveda Center, they're also running online consultations. The links for all of it will be put up on the SYCT website, and it'll be made available tomorrow. So tomorrow you can check it out, and anything else that you want to get in contact with,
one question, sorry, only one question, only last question, just a straight question.
Yeah. Okay.
When can we start our regular active session after COVID? Because I'm taking yoga classes. My friend suggested me not to take yoga classes because I recently went through COVID. So when can we have our regular workouts and all?
This is a general answer. It is not specific to any particular person. Generally, after 2 weeks, you can do whatever activity you want to. Generally.
Oh, okay.
And otherwise also specific to COVID, it depends on what is the issue that you're facing. So if there is a breathing issue or if there is sleeplessness as the other person complained of, specific practices can be done even when you are suffering from the disease or when you're in the process of recuperating. So like Brahmari Pranayama for the person who had sleep issues or simple breath awareness that we did today, you can do it even if you are in a disease condition. The same holds good for Pavan Muktasanas, where we learn the different postures for your legs and hands. Those are very simple movements. They ensure that circulation happens and you're not going to be exerting your body too much. So those practices are also allowed. But before you take up anything, please consult with the person whom you're learning from. Right. Well, thank you so much. I will definitely try and see you again on the 3rd of June next month. We will be having the next session then, and it will be related to women health and care for women. So see you then. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Achit. Thank you, Madhumita as well.